Hey guys, how's everyone? Back at it once again with a brand new video for you, and welcome to episode 10 of Dre Talks, a series where I talk about things that may not necessarily be sporting related, featuring games you don't normally see me play. I have no idea what gameplay I'm going to put to this video because I'm recording the commentary first before I choose the gameplay on this one. It makes more sense when you actually hear everything, but for this episode I want to talk about the Xbox One. For those who didn't see it, earlier in the week, Microsoft unveiled their new console, the Xbox One, which is going to be released later this year worldwide. And obviously, as gamers, as the huge community that we are, it got a lot of people talking. A lot of it, some of it positive, a lot of it negative. I mean, IGN ran a survey and they said that 75% of people who voted were disappointed with the Xbox One reveal. I wasn't disappointed so much, personally. I'll explain why. As you know, I'm an Xbox 360 owner. My brother is a PS3 guy. I've had time with both consoles. I think the Xbox is a better, more well-rounded experience, and it's worth the extra money paying for an Xbox Live subscription. That's just my opinion. So naturally, I'm going to gravitate more towards the Xbox presentation. And Sony fired first, pretty much, in this whole battle. Pardon me, this whole battle, got a hiccup there. By basically revealing info about their PlayStation 4 first. Xbox's presentation last week seemed to be like almost a direct response to that, if you get what I mean. And I can totally see why a lot of people were upset by or disappointed by the whole Xbox reveal. Some things to break it down. I highly recommend you watch the whole thing before you watch this video. But if you have, carry on. If not, I highly recommend you find the reveal and then check back here, because there's some things you may not necessarily get or understand. But it's becoming quite clear that I think a lot of people were confused from the get-go. I think a lot of people were expecting a lot of video games to be displayed, and that wasn't the case at all. Most of the presentation seemed to be about the console's technology, the technological aspects of the whole thing. Like, for example, the 8 gig of RAM they talked about, the fact it's going to integrate Skype into everything, the fact it's going to have like the NFL, the complete NFL experience on there, talking about how you can watch fantasy scores while watching the real game go on. EA Sports is having a big part of the new Xbox, like the EA UFC, for example. We saw people like John Jones, Anthony Pettis in that promo, and obviously talking a lot about television too. About if you're a cable. The whole thing coming with cable, you being able to watch TV casually in the corner while you play. That seems very interesting, but I can't help but shake the feeling of who cares about television anymore. Like, me personally, I barely watch any live TV anymore. Like, I might watch an episode of Top Gear or something like that when it comes out live, but if there's anything out there I really want to see, I'll either download it, to be honest, illegally, Netflix it, or go on Love Film and stream it, or something along those lines. Like, I think the days of casual television watching are dying, if not already dead. And I think things like the DVR being invented, being able to record live television, as well as, like I said, streaming sites like Netflix and Love Film have pretty much killed watching television casually anymore. Nobody is sitting in front of their TVs these days watching 5 hours of TV at a time anymore. Those days have gone, and with technology ever growing around us, it seems to me that television seems to be getting lost by the wayside now. That's just how I see it. And if I've already got a TV, like, why would I want the Xbox to do the same thing? To me, I just didn't care about that. And it goes back to the console power. I mean, the Xbox One is really not going to be as powerful as the PlayStation 4. It's got 8 gig of RAM, but only 5 gigs are going to be towards actually gaming. I think 3 gigs are saying is going to be taken up by other things, like the TV, like the Skype integration, like all the other stuff that's going on within the console. So, make of that what you will, but I don't care about the whole TV thing. As a sports buff, it was nice to see all the sports coverage, but I can totally imagine if you're not a sports fan like I am, or if you're not a fan of sports games, or racing games, because Forza 5 did get a brief mention and was confirmed as a launch title, you know, they didn't actually show any gameplay for Forza 5. It was more of a cinematic more than anything else, again, but disappointed because I'm obviously, as a big petrol head, I was really looking forward to a Forza 5, you know, reveal and whatnot. It was kind of a reveal, but yeah, for the most part, the biggest call out on the Xbox end seemed to be that there was a lack of games on display. Now, again, a lot of people, I think, from the get-go, a lot of people were disappointed, and I think people were confused by the whole thing in the sense of it was a console reveal, and Xbox did reveal the console. Like, we were expecting games. I think it was kind of obvious that they were saving some of their gear for E3, which is going to be, I think, what, in a couple of weeks' time. Like, on paper, it sounds impressive because they said there's going to be 15 exclusive games, 8 new exclusive franchises exclusive to the Xbox. But we didn't actually see any of them, which was kind of disappointing. But if they've really got 8 new exclusive franchises on that side of the console, then that does seem like good potential. Again, people didn't really talk about that because it was so briefly mentioned amongst the techno babble and whatnot, that there was some meaningful information that did come through. That was an example of one. Also, they're saying there's going to be 300,000 servers going into the Xbox One service when that comes out. That's awesome news because, you know, they're also saying things like every game will have its own dedicated servers, which is fantastic news because as a former Call of Duty player, like, host migrations can be the most frustrating thing in the world. So, like, every game having its own dedicated servers will be terrific for online play because, you know, we've all had online gaming lag issues and things like that before. So for that, hopefully not to happen when the Xbox One comes out of its 300,000 servers, that's really good news. As a director, as a video maker, I must admit as well, being able to DVR and record your own content, as well as Skype integration during gameplay, I think is an excellent feature as well. Obviously, it's not going to appeal to everybody because, again, you can just Skype on a computer, but that makes things way easier to record. For example, as a video maker like myself, if I wanted to, for example, do a Formula 1 2012 co-op career, for instance, and you know, you wanted to have commentary over the top, you could just record the Skype call which is coming out of the TV. That you don't have to go down the process of having Skype wired in, you know, as well at the same time and recording the Skype call on the computer. It's a long and fiddly process. I've never even done it before myself personally. So to have that integrated is also a very nice touch if you're a video maker. So it was kind of a given, really, that was going to be in there. But again, a really nice touch to have Skype there. But one thing was always going to be a problem, and that was the used game policy that's come out since, you know, basically since this E3 presentation has come out. Because, you know, a lot of people obviously had a lot of questions to ask Microsoft and Xbox regarding, you know, the new demo. Or the console reveal, I should say, and that was to talk about the used game policy. So basically, for those who didn't know, games will now have their own unique serial number. So whenever you buy an Xbox One game, you're going to pop it in your console and you've got to install it on the hard drive first. Now, size-wise, it shouldn't be that big a deal because it's going to have 500 gigs of space. These consoles, which is obviously way bigger than any Xbox ever released, besides maybe the 250 gig slimline ones, but it's going to have half a terabyte of data on there, basically. So you're going to pop the game in, you're going to install it, and then you run it from the hard drive. The disc is, like, every disc is now going to have its own unique serial key, so your game will now be locked in to your profile. So if you want to take your game to a friend's house and play it at your friend's house, as long as you log into your own profile, you'll be fine. But if you want to play it on your own profile rather than your friend's one who owns the game, you've got to pay a fee, which I think is pushing it. I think that's Microsoft being greedy. I know for a fact that these places want to eliminate pre-owned games, because I think it's a little bit greedy of retailers to do pre-owned games, to be honest, and I've always thought that. So I can see why companies like that would want to try and combat used games, because it makes sense. Because just basically, to give you a quick example, if you buy an Xbox game or if you buy an Xbox, any game that's sold in a retailer, when it's sold and it's brand new, a share of that goes back to the developers. When all these game places have trade-ins, for example, and you buy a pre-owned game from a game retailer, they don't have to give money to the developers when they buy games pre-owned. So basically, the retailers take 100% of the profit, and nothing goes back to developers, and that's not good. And I think that's a bit greedy and a little bit selfish, and it's something that retailers have done, and now developers want their slice of the pie back, basically. So I can see why they've done it, but it also takes the mickey, because it pushes the boundaries of the belief of, do you really own that game if you can't take it and play with it somewhere else at a friend's house, or a friend can't have the same privilege unless he pays for it. I think that's a bit cruel, and I think that's a bit unnecessary, and I think that was a deal breaker for many people, because I saw people's comments saying things like, this is basically us losing the right to own games, and I think that was a bit harsh, but I don't think it's as bad as that. But I will say this, it's definitely not a good PR move, because I know a lot of people killed Microsoft for that one when that bit of information leaked out. But I think the big make or break for Microsoft for the whole thing is going to be E3 in a couple of weeks' time, because they're obviously going to reveal more games, and obviously more about what's going to come with this Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, obviously during that E3 Expo, basically. So we're going to know a lot more by then, and I think opinions will definitely change. However, I do definitely also think that Sony are in the lead right now. I think a lot of people didn't like the Microsoft reveal. I think that a lot of them had a right to be, saddened about that, because it feels like the two are definitely branching paths. It feels like Sony are trying to make the ultimate games console that's easy and accessible to use, and they want to build it around their games, while it's clear that Microsoft, I think, want to try and create the ultimate multimedia device, like the thing that can do everything. It can play your Netflix, it can play your on-demand services, it can play games, it can play TV, it has Skype, blah 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 blah. Like, it can do everything. Like, they want the complete multimedia experience on one. They call themselves, they call it the all-in-one system. That tells you exactly what you need to know right there. It's the first thing they say in their main advertising slogan, all-in-one, basically. And other things as well that leaked out, like the microphone for the Xbox One always being on, even when it's not on, always needing an internet connection to play games. That's going to be a problem for some people, but I've always said, if you can afford like a £500 game console in your house without a big problem, and you can't afford internet, then that's a bit weird, don't you think? I've always said that, and the whole backwards compatibility thing for both consoles is a bit annoying too, but that's only really in the short term. Like, how many people play their original Xbox games on 360? And how many people play their PS2 games in the PS3? It just doesn't happen very often, does it? Like, people kept onto their PS2s for that exact same reason. So I think that's only going to hurt them in the short term more than anything else. But like I said, I think E3 will be the big deal breaker for Microsoft or for Sony. But I'll be honest, nothing about the PS4 seems overly impressive to me either. Like, people saying, oh, but Sony revealed more gameplay. Yeah, the Killzone gameplay for that was crap. It was at 30 frames per second, and it looked really bad. I'm sorry, it just did. Okay, like, see, case. Oh, but don't worry, we got the Saw games. That makes it better. But that's just how I see it. I think there's a lot to like, but I think there's also a lot to pick apart, because I think Microsoft on this one got it wrong. I think some of the decisions they made and some of the marketing they're doing is a little bit off, and I don't think Microsoft are appealing to the true gamers, which ultimately, that's the reason people are going to buy these things. They're not going to buy it because for its television integration. They're not buying it for Skype. They're not buying it for all these other little fancy bits. They're buying it for games. It's as simple as that, really. But I'd love to hear what you guys thought of this. It's obviously a very, very conscientious topic amongst gamers in general. If you're a gamer, are you swaying one way or the other? Are you a hardcore fan of either of the two consoles? Has any of the two reveals made you change your mind or locked in your belief on something else? Let me know. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this. And if you like the video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I do really appreciate it. It really helps me out. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I've been Harris101, and thank you very much for watching. Sayonara.